Well, there it is. It's sitting out there on its own, under its own power. I'll let it run for like 20 minutes. Watch the temperature gauge, it's working. The fuel gauge is not working, I don't know why. But so far so good as far as getting nice and warm on a warm day. And what you're looking at here is actually the hood, which oddly enough on a van, this van, it's one of the smallest body parts on it. It's smaller than all the doors, any of the other panels on it. It might rival the front fenders, which are pretty short. This one I haven't had it on because when I was doing the acid treatment back months and months ago, I found a couple real thin spots right here on this front lip, and it's kind of thin up here in the top. So I was going to go to the junkyard, and there was like 4 or 5 vans, and I was going to grab another hood, just, you know, quick and easy. But either they was all mangled up or they was completely rotted out underneath. So I thought, well, this is the best one that I've seen, so might as well just take the time and fix it. And I'll show you the pinholes there in a second. But we'll have to strip it again. But I think what I'll do is I'll attempt to fix it first. Weld some metal in, and then strip it again, and then get all this rust off here, because I pretty much had it sitting over there on that rack for months now. But I think I could probably make it work and not give us any trouble down the road. They can see the old U.S. Army, and it had the equipment number on it. I think this was also on the van itself in the form of a tag. Now this tag was on the glove box lid. And yeah, so it says this is just for the military people, or if you're curious, 01B3 1072. 72 might be a year, because that's the year of the van. So that's an interesting little thing. Some of it's already kind of stripped off. I might go ahead and take the rest of it. Well, we have picture documentation. This is just a nice little trinket to have a picture of it. And yeah, just a little neat thing. It's actually that reflective decal also. When you hit it with a light, it will glow. But I'll probably go ahead and strip it off there. We do have the number. In case we ever get into any military archives, we can look up that number and maybe find out something a little more about our van. I guess now in the meantime I'll show you this damage on it. Alright, again, here's the hood. Overspray. It's kind of been neglected and abused here the last few months, but right here we've got a pinhole, we've got one starting here. So this is all kind of roughed back up, and I think we got one starting there too. I'm going to sand this down. It might be too thin. If it is, I might have to cut basically a strip just under this pinch line, or this fold line I should say. A new strip in here, and then up here we'll hit that last and see what we can do, and then we'll have to go through with some filler work. I'm looking down here. It looks like there's just some action going on down here, probably where water is set in behind the 2 pieces, and that's the lowest point of gravity on this hood, so that's where it all set, and that's where it ate it out over time. Okay, so I just went over this real quick with some 80 grit, and it really kind of clears up where the problems are. And it almost looks like these are kind of isolated, meaning they might not be necessarily that thin behind there, but it might have just rotted out in a really specific spot. So we might be lucky enough, we'll try it and we'll show you. We might be lucky enough to take our MIG welder and just try to fill the hole. If it proceeds to make the hole bigger, then you know it's thin behind there. I'm a 50-50. I'm gonna say it might be thin, but the other 50% thinks that it might actually fill. And then if we can get by with that, I'm thinking here it probably won't do that. It'll probably blow up. Here it might actually pass, but we'll find out. If we can get by with that and all these little spots, then it'll be a matter of just sealing it from the backside with some encapsulator that seeps down in there and seals that off, and then kind of stops it in its tracks. I'm gonna try that one first. It's really hard to tell off this camera. Ah, blew a hole in it. We'll go to the next one, see what we can do with that. I'm gonna turn this down actually. So that one went pretty good. I think a second ago I had my heat up too much. And that's why I blew a hole. So I might be able to see if I can build this back in. Now the hole is opened up to like a good 3/16 of an inch. I'm going to try to fill it in, and when you fill it in, you want to go in from an angle. You don't want to go in straight, because what it's going to do is going to build a mound up, and then you'll still have the hole there, but you'll have a little beehive built around it. So you want to go into the side of it and try to connect the bridge across flatward. If you see me delay like I did, just kind of hold there and let it cool. That's what I'm doing. I'm just letting it cool so that it doesn't increase that heat and it'll be more likely to blow out. That's the worst one. I'm going to go through and see if I can handle these other ones here. So, let's see what we can do. Okay, so as we've gone over this, you find more little just pit marks and holes and, you know, tiny stuff. I need to hit this dark part here. It's actually got a little crater in it. And I'm going to show you something you can do if you're not going to strip the whole thing. You're just looking to kind of reassure yourself some clean metal will get back in there. See these spots right here? Those are rust. This is what kind of leads to thinning of a panel, of the gauge. So one thing you could do here is, if you clean it up a little bit with some sandpaper, so in other words, go over a little bit, sometimes you'll find a good grab in there as far as getting an arc, okay? If you can't, you can come off to the side. There's a little tip. Get a little string out of there and lay it across there and hit the trigger, okay? It lays it across there because you arced it on the side, and then since it's touching here and it's bridging across, if you're trying to get it out there in the middle like so, hit it in the middle where you want it off of this stick. It's a little rough going, but once you get to like that. Now what you could do, what I'm kind of getting at here, is this dark area that's rusted and getting thin, you could kind of blow it out a little bit and replace it with fresh metal, just like this. So if you go around this a few times and keep it buried into the metal, this flat surface here, you can kind of replace that area and make that solid and make it less vulnerable. You understand what I'm saying? Do you get the situations going on here? So we do that. And we let it dig into that bad metal a little bit. We can gradually replace that thin area. And then we grind it down and just keep reworking it until you're happy with it. All right, so everything, 80 grit, sand it down. Surface rust off of there. This inside of it is set pretty much untreated. So everything's kind of scaly, kind of rough. So we're just gonna go through, not a lot of time spent on it, and just knock any of this stuff down. It'll make quicker work for the acid. I haven't done any of the acid treatment in several months. So just a reminder, do it outside, don't do it in your shop. It'll take anything that's bare metal and tarnish it, cause it to rust. Plus you wanna get out of any of the fumes way, so best to do it outside or with really, really good ventilation. If you're gonna do anywhere like further into the garage here, wear a mask. I'd wear the mask anyways. Some glasses in case of spatter. Cover your arms, and yeah, just be sensible with it. Make sure you have some baking soda and a bucket of water. That's gonna neutralize it. When you get done doing your acid and you get everything cleaned up, very soon after it cleans up, you wanna wash it all down really good, and then take your baking soda water. A good percentage of that water should have a lot of baking soda, almost white. And you can go through here and scrub it all down good, let it get down in the seams and these little holes. Pick it up, move it around, let it get to all those. It's gonna fizz and sizzle. When it quits fizzing and sizzling, you've neutralized it, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, knock all this down. Just all these little edges where there wasn't paint originally, it's gotten a little worse. Well, we went through it before, and just get it really good. I'll go ahead and strip these decals off here, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I've put 2 good slatherings of this muriatic acid on here, and it's already done quite a bit of work. A lot of it open here. Working on it down in here really good in the seam. Just keep it wet. That's the big thing. Keeping it wet, keeping it saturated. That'll help really bite into that steel and get the rust out of it. Just get as much as you can out. You may not get it perfect. If you can, then great. But we're gonna have to clean it up here in a bit. We got our baking soda, and that'll neutralize it really good. Anytime you do this stuff, try to make it a one-day thing. Do a panel at a time if you can, because it gets you don't want to really leave it out even after you neutralize it. It takes something out of that metal to where it doesn't have a great shelf life, so to speak. So try to make a one-day thing. Get it cleaned up really good. Get it dried out. That's another thing. But on a hot day like this, here we got the sun out still. We can dry it out good after we neutralize it. So just some tips. All right, so after about, I don't know, 15 to 20 goings over with this, we've pretty much got any of the simple rust out of it. These corners, little spots up through here, a little bit of this. It's pretty stubborn. I wouldn't say a lot of it's that deep. Some of it could be, but it's just very kind of concentrated corrosion. All right, we got a nice clean 5-gallon bucket. Probably won't need all the 5 gallons. Any baking soda is good. This is just the local Kroger brand. Arm & Hammer is usually what I've had, but this is just as good. I'm just gonna put half the box in there. It's only like 39, 59 cents, something like that. Heck, put a little bit more. Fill it about half full of water, stir it around good, set it out in the sun, let it warm up real good. That helps. And then we'll prepare one of these so we can squirt all this down into the little holes so that we neutralize anything that got inside of the two panels of the hood. For scrubbing, we'll just use some of these like sink pads or whatever you want to call them. Okay, after setting out in the sun for a few hours, kind of baking in the heat, and then finally I just took a propane torch, brought it in here and hit the areas where it would really be the hardest to get out, and that'd be these wrap seams, pinch seams, anything kind of heavy like that. And there was still some in there, like down here on these edges. You'd hit it and it would start bubbling up and it would pretty much sweat it out. So feel pretty good about that. We're not going to get primer on it today, or tonight now, but we will get some sealer on it. And when I say sealer, I'm talking about encapsulator from Eastwood. I've got a quart of that, so we'll use that. And most of it's going to get applied to the inside of the hood here. And we'll just let it set for the night, and then tomorrow we'll get some epoxy primer on it. Absolutely on this side, and probably on the top side of it. Get it ready for some Eastwood rust encapsulator. And I thought about doing it with the spray gun, but I think I'll just do it with a brush and put it on a little bit thicker that way. And it's almost kind of therapeutic to do it that way too. Just take a brush and just kind of paint your problems away. So I think we'll do that. And it'll be the last thing we do for this day. And then the later part of this video, you'll see the end of it, and that'll be tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get some red on it tomorrow, mainly on the inside here that you're looking at now. had planned for this. I'm just now getting to. It's basically water slide decals, like you would use on a model car. But I have these type that you can line the paper and you can print them out. And then as long as you can seal them up properly with some clear coat or whatever works, then you can put on something that might get wet and be in the weather, stuff like that. And so we're cutting some little letters out. You have to be kind of specific. I don't have a lot of tools that can cut them out, specifically. I have to do it by hand, so it's a little time consuming. But I'm almost done. And when I get these rest of these cut out and applied, I won't have the clear coat on it, but you'll see exactly what we have as a tribute. All right, so we're all done, and I'll show you what we got here. And that's it. The U.S. Army decals are back. A little bit different. We've added the RET, which stands for retired, since this is now part of civilian life. But this is just a nod toward its history as an Army van from the time it was sent from, I guess, from the factory sometime early in 1972. And, of course, it's been out of that field for probably over 20 years since it's getting its new paint and all its other little features. We don't want to forget any of that, so that's what this is here for. And it'll get clear coated, and if we go to car shows or anything, you'll see it as part of the engine compartment here, and it might create some conversation. But ultimately it's just a nod to our veterans and those who are serving and who have served. And being that this is Memorial Day weekend, it's also a nod to those who gave their life for this country, give us the freedom to do things like this. So thank you very much. Also, that will conclude this episode of the Hoosier Garage. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.